The forest was older than memory, a patchwork of mossy trunks, lantern-laced vines, and paths that hummed like old pipes. In Mosswood, light itself seemed to listen. A hush settled where a clearing opened to a curious ring of cottages and one peculiar porcelain throne. The wind whispers, "Welcome to Mosswood." And with that quiet, the story moves deeper into the trees. 4 ivory peacocks lived at the heart of the clearing: Arya, the thoughtful leader with a gold-tipped crest; Miro, the practical one with a slightly green-tinted tail edge; Sarah, tender and silver-flecked; and Patsu, scatter-brained but fiercely loyal. They walked like they belonged to every story told beneath these trees. Arya, we must keep the houses safe, the pipes are part of our home. Miro, then we'll start with the oldest cottage and work outward. They stepped forward together toward their first task. From the shadowed bend of the path came 2 navel blue peacocks, sleek and cool as tidewater: Brine, who measured silence like advantage, and Cobalt, whose eyes kept a calculating distance. Their feathers shimmered with a salt-slick sheen that made the leaves tremble. Cobalt, the village listens to echoes. If we shape the echoes, the village will listen to us. Brine, then we take control of the pipes and the people who depend on them. Their plan glinted like a secret beneath the moon. The noise started small, a high, terrified wail whenever a toilet was flushed in the old council cottages on the ridge. It traveled through the pipes and the rafters, a sound that made children flinch and council letters gather dust. The peacocks knew this was no ordinary plumbing quirk, it was a symptom of neglect, of houses packed too tight without enough care. Sarah the flush cries out for attention. It's the pipes asking for the help the cottages never got. Patsu, then will listen and give them a better home, one pipe and one voice at a time. The connection between the screams and the community's unhealed needs grew clear. Cobalt and Brine had a mad plan: to replace the ocean's flow with a gelatinous tide so that every echo became a controlled, resonant choir for their commands. Gelatin seas, they believed, would thicken the sound and let them shape the screams into something they could use. Brine, imagine a shore that never washes away, we will braid the echoes to our names. Cobalt, turn the ocean to thick song and the pipes will hum only for us. Their plot smelled of salt and cunning, and the sea beyond Mosswood did not know what was coming. One morning a flush made the whole neighborhood shudder, a keening, human-like scream that traveled under doors and through stovepipes. Mothers hugged children, elders clenched cane tops. The sound was unmistakable and unbearable. Villager, the toilet screamed again, it sounds like it's calling for help. Arya, then we must go deeper into the pipes and find what the scream means. Tension tightened like a rope along the village lanes. While patching a leaky mirror window, Arya and Patsu argued. Arya believed mirrors could hide truths when people needed comfort. Patsu thought mirrors simply returned what was put before them, no malice, only reflection. The disagreement pulled at their teamwork in small, sharp ways. Arya, mirrors soften the world on purpose, so we don't see what must be changed. Patsu, or they show us exactly what we are, and it is our choice to act. Their words hung between them like a fog, it settled, and left a brittle cool behind. A little break: if Mosswood has taught anyone to be direct, it's the peacocks. If you like this strange adventure, please tap like, subscribe for more tales from the forest, and if you want to help the peacocks know you were here, comment the word slop. Pip, if you giggled or gasped, hit like, and write slop so we can read it on the next breeze. Now, the path thickens and the peacocks move on. Brine and Cobalt began their ceremony at the shoreline, twisting tide stones and chanting until the surf grew sluggish. The sea thickened like a bowl of jelly. They opened a narrow channel toward Mosswood's underground streams and smiled while the ocean's voice darkened. Cobalt, pull the tide and bind its song, let every pipe carry our command. Brine, let the gelatin hold the echoes so we may tune them as we will. As the gelatin tide crept into hidden channels, the village's echoes shifted underfoot. The ivory peacocks rushed to the old pipes with tools, maps, and goodwill. They pried lids, sang to the water, and coaxed gears. For a time it felt like progress. But the gelatin in the veins of the streams stuck like memory, and each repair slipped away like trying to hold fog. Miro, we can force the clog, patch the valve, just hand me the wrench. Sarah, the gelatin clings, our fixes slide away. We need another way. They exhaled in frustration as repairs failed to hold. Their earlier argument about mirrors erupted into something sharper: blame. One said that changing mirrors would change how villagers demanded repair. The other said blame would not replace pipes. Their teamwork frayed at the edges, and each choice felt like walking on stepping stones over deep water. Arya, if we convince people the mirror shows lies, they won't demand the repairs they need. Potsu, if we teach them the mirror shows the truth, they'll see what must be done together. Their disagreement left them raw and less sure of the next move. When the screaming reached its loudest, shelters trembled. Pip, the small jade-green sidekick, darted up drains, tugged at stuck valves, and plugged seams where the gelatin tried to creep. Each time a child screamed or a pipe warbled, Pip scrambled in and patched hope back together. Yet at the same moment Brine took control of the central siphon and the voices began to harmonize into a command. Pip, hold on, I can wedge this, just a little more. Brine, now the pipes sing my tune, the village will answer when I call. The day teetered between rescue and domination as Pip kept saving pockets of the village while power slipped toward the navy blue pair. A desperate conversation by candlelight turned into discovery. One navy blue peacock crumpled into panic when someone accidentally presented socks that didn't match. It was absurd and brilliant. An old superstition seemed to unravel their composure like a loose thread. Miro, try making his socks mismatch. If he loses his balance, he can't finish the chant. Sarah, it's strange, but we have to try. The village can't be silenced by fear. They prepared a small, careful trick that might turn panic into a rescue. At the ritual chamber they lured Brine and Cobalt into a hiccup of confidence and gently swapped one of Brine's socks without fanfare. The moment the navy blue peacock realized his socks were mismatched, the ritual faltered, his voice broke, the siphon shuddered, and the gelatin tide thinned where it mattered most. Cobalt, this cannot be, my footing is wrong. Brine, stop the chant, the echoes feel thin. In a whimper of feather and fluster, their control slipped and the siphon side shut. With the chant broken and the gelatin tide retreating, the peacocks worked as one. They redirected clear water, repaired once neglected pipes, and organized the villagers into teams to retrofit cottages and redistribute resources. They spoke to the Council of the Ridge about long overdue reforms and how housing must be treated as care, not afterthought. Arya, we will fix the pipes and demand the council fund proper repairs and better living conditions. Miro, together, we rebuild the pipes, homes, and trust. The screaming subsided into ordinary plumbing sounds, and the village breathed again. When the last valve was turned and the final council meeting ended with promises backed by plans, Mosswood settled into a gentler rhythm. The peacocks had changed too, where anger had once sat like a stone, understanding now warmed their steps. The mirror argument did not vanish but softened into curiosity, two views held together instead of tearing them apart. Arya, maybe mirrors don't lie on purpose, maybe they remind us of different truths. Potsu, and that means we can choose which truths to act on, together. With laughter and a shared look, they walked beneath the trees that had watched them grow. And finally, a small note to close. Mosswood is a story stitched from imagination and collaboration, and some of its sillier bits were aided by tools of our time. Disclaimer: all slop in this story were generated using AI. Thank you for listening. May your pipes be solid and your mirrors honest. Narrator, thank you for joining this tale from Mosswood. Now the forest quiets, and the tale folds like a map into a pocket.